Hi, I'm Marcus.
And I'm Cameron.
And we're here for a quick discussion on the topic of hybrid events. This is a V-Snack called Hybrid 101, How Do We Stay Safe?
V-Snack!
So Cameron, we should probably start by just defining what we mean when we say hybrid events. What exactly is a hybrid event?
By this time, we're all familiar with what a virtual event is. And of course, we all remember and miss those traditional in-person live events. A hybrid event is actually a broad term for any event that incorporates elements of both the live in-person event and some sort of online broadcasted element for a remote viewer.
Right, so hybrid events might sound like a new term, but in reality, it's the same stuff we've been doing for a long time. For example, a basketball game is a hybrid event, or a streaming concert could be a hybrid event. But for the purpose of this V-Snack, we're talking about those events that we traditionally all had in person, and then we moved virtually because of the pandemic. And likely at some point in the future, we're hoping to transition back to bring back some of those in-person elements.
I think intuitively, we all know being in person has some benefits that you really can't replace, but we've also come to realize there's a lot of benefits to hosting those events online. So in the future, we want an event that has the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and there's a ton of things you may want to consider when you're planning a hybrid event. But for this episode, we're going to highlight some quick points on how we can stay safe along the way. But before we dive in, just a big key is to over-communicate your safety protocols across the board. So over-communicate to the city, to your venue, to your vendors, to the attendees. Really, when anyone walks in, you want anything and everything regarding safety protocol to be visible so everyone knows the event's being conducted properly.
Yeah, so first tip would be to move outdoors. We all know that an outdoor open-air event is really the safest way to gather a group of people. Across the world, outdoor activities have been the first thing to come back around. Anything from outdoor dining to sports events like golf, and some distance music events even. It's safe to assume that one of the best ways is to hold an event in the fresh air.
Yeah, so some positives of outdoor events. First of all, if you can move outdoors, you're going to be first to market in a sense. Which means that you're in a position to capitalize on focused attention. Attention from media, from your advertising partners, from sponsors. If you're doing things safely, that's potentially a really powerful position to be in.
Yeah, and similar to that point, your attendees are likely to fit into that early adopter category. So, you have a captive audience of folks who are eager for engagement and more likely to build relationships with your brand, buy your product, or become a member, et cetera.
Also, an outdoor event is a good opportunity to get creative, so you can add a new twist to the same old event. For example, you're likely going to be looking for alternative venues.
Yeah, spots like, think about wedding venues, outdoor music stages, hotel courtyards, maybe a pool deck for larger events. Maybe you're looking at parks or parking lots. If you've ever been to South by Southwest, you can really have a successful event in just about anywhere.
Speaking of South by Southwest, another positive about outdoor spaces is the way it allows for you to really turn your attendee experience into more of a journey.
Yeah, if you don't have to lump every event into a single space, you can really spread things out and plan a path of movement. And there's a lot of cool technology you can use to link zones throughout those spaces.
But of course, there's also some negatives to outdoor events. For example, some events we know just won't translate well to being in the outdoor space.
Yeah, there's obviously weather to contend with. You've got to always, no matter what, have a weather contingency plan. It's truly a must, and maybe the time and geography of your event rule out outdoors due to weather altogether.
So if that's the case, and if moving outdoors is a no-go, what other sort of things should we be considering?
Consider decreasing density. So in simple terms, that means the attendance needs to go down or the venue size needs to scale up.
Right, decrease in density, which sounds easy in theory, but what sort of things do we need to do to actually make that happen?
So one option is to look at housing smaller regional events instead of your typical summit type of gathering. So go to where your audience is. The data so far is telling us people would be much more willing to drive in order to attend your event than in years past.
Tip number 2 is to use the hybrid format to your advantage. So what you want to do is limit your in-person audience to 2 main groups, the presenters that are going to be on stage and your high-value attendees.
Your audience size is going to go down, but you can use that exclusively. You can use that exclusivity of the in-person event experience to your advantage. Treat your VIPs as reward donors and sell premium packages, et cetera.
Right. So High value attendees might also mean the people that are in your brand's core demographic. So this kind of relates back to your earlier point about early adopters. Your target audience for the in-person experience are those people that are most likely to resonate with the sight and the sound and the smells, and really the people that are really likely to turn that sensory experience into results, whatever the results for your event may be.
Yeah, and then there's a virtual portion, social distancing to the max. So one of the best things we know about having an online presence is that you can reach a much wider audience. And that's not the only benefit, because you can always open the door to more in-depth information that lives longer online with on-demand content, increase opportunities for ad revenue, and gain a whole wealth of performance data for your team to analyze.
So just keep in mind, to maximize the hybrid model, you want to try and create an online experience that really complements the in-person event. In an ideal situation, even your in-person attendees, whenever they get back to the hotel room, are logging into your online portal to check out that exclusive segment that you maybe plugged during the keynote, or to get the nerdy details of that product you were showing off, or to hunt down that Easter egg and claim the prize that you mentioned. In short, social distancing shouldn't just equal a fear of missing out.
Yeah, so what about all the details? Social distance floor plans and sanitization stations, prepackaged meal options, all the other stuff I've heard about.
Obviously, this is really where the rubber meets the road. You will need a comprehensive plan. And in fact, many cities are going to require you to submit a plan before your event is even approved in the first place. But the good news is that you shouldn't have to plan it all by yourself. So every one of your vendors and contractors should already have a detailed plan that describes how they're going to cover their scope, and that should be ready for you to review upfront.
So as an example, here's some of the protocol that we've put in place here at ATX Event Systems. First of all, we screen all the workers with a COVID questionnaire and also a temperature check before they even enter the venue. We also make sure that we have placed sanitation stations throughout the venue and make sure that all of our workers use them frequently. We sanitize all of our gear before and after each use, and we make sure that we have some kind of distanced floor plan so that tables, front of house, and back of house are all distanced appropriately. We also have a ton of tech that allows you to distance. For example, we have these PTZ cameras. It's called a pan tilt zoom, which is just a fancy name for a robotic camera that can be controlled remotely by an operator. It can be used in really tight spaces or those events where you require some of those higher levels of distancing. It's really an excellent option and has some great picture quality as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we can actually move almost all of our operators away from your talent, a couple 100 feet away, or maybe even to another room. All it takes is some extra cabling and some pre-planning. So if there's no other room or space available, that's something that we can plan around and make sure that all of our internal crew is separated from your crew and your talent. So clearly there's a lot to consider, but there's also a lot that we can do to help create the safest possible environment. If you need help coming up with the plan or helping make that plan clear to everyone who's around, let us know.
Yeah, there's really a ton of cool tech that can help keep you on track, and we have it all here at ATX Event Systems.
So if you're thinking about a hybrid event, please reach out. And until then, thanks for joining our VSnack and stay safe.
Have a good one.